everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking about market orders, limit orders, and stop orders. So if you've been looking to start investing, maybe you go to the trading tab on whatever brokerage you're using, or maybe you're just doing some research, you've probably seen these three terms floating around. And my goal in this video is to explain those three terms to you so you can understand what they are and decide which one is the best for you to use when you decide to start trading or investing. So the first two I'm going to talk about are market orders and limit orders because those are typically the two that you're going to be using most often. I will talk about stop orders, but most people in usual circumstances don't even touch that. Trailing stop losses, stop limits, I'm not going to touch on that. I'll just touch on the general stop order concept. So let's just get straight into it. So the first concept is a market order. It's one of the options that you'll get to choose from when you're trying to buy a stock or an ETF. Whatever it is that you're trying to buy, you'll probably see market order. And a market order is basically an order to execute immediately. It's say, I want to buy this stock right now. And I'm just going to use the word stock for the rest of the video. So whatever you're going to buy, I'm just going to say stock to represent everything. So market order is like, I want to buy it now. The moment you place the order, that order is going to be executed. So for example, let's say I want to buy a stock. I'm just going to use AT&T. Let's pretend AT&T currently is trading at $25.87. When you submit a market order for however many shares you want to buy, it is going to execute immediately at whatever the current market price is. That's why it's called a market order. You're going to buy those shares of that company at the market price. So you don't really get to choose. It might be higher or lower than what the current price is. Like if you go to Google and search AT&T price, it might say 25.87 at that moment when you put in the order, but it's all in real time. The stock prices changes up and down. Who knows how many times every day. So it's just at that moment, whatever the nearest price is, it will execute that order. On the other hand, we have a limit order, which is where you can set a limit of where you want to either buy or sell a stock. So with the market order, when you're buying or selling, you're just buying at whatever the current price is, or you're selling at whatever the current price is. You don't really get to choose. With the limit order, when you're buying or selling, you have a little bit more control in that you can choose the maximum price that you want to buy it at and the minimum price you want to sell it at. So it's always going to execute at the price you set or better. So same example, let's say AT&T is currently going at $25.87 and you're like, no, that's too little. I want at least $26. Like that's how much I want to make per share. I will only sell once it hits 26 or more. So with the limit order, you would select the limit order, you select sell, and when you type in the 26, nothing will happen until the stock price reaches 26 or better. So you're always guaranteed to sell that stock at your price or better. So it can execute at 26, it might execute at $26.05, it might execute at 27. So it's not necessarily going to execute at exactly your limit, it's always going to be at that limit or better. And so on the flip side, if you wanted to buy a stock, for example, we typically like to buy cheaper stocks, right? Buy it when it's at a lower price compared to a higher price when you want to sell, right? So for example, if a buy order, you want to set a limit. Same thing for AT&T, maybe it's $25.87 now. You think, oh, that's too high, but I'll buy it when it's $25, for example. So you can put in a limit order for $25. When you put that order in, nothing will happen until that stock price drops down to 25 or even lower. So it might be at 25 and it'll execute, or it might just go, it might not be at 25 exactly. Maybe it'll skip 25 and it'll just go to $24.99. Example. It'll skip 25, go to something lower, your limit order will execute. So it's whatever your price is or better, which means when you're selling, it's that price or higher, and if you're buying, it's that price or lower. And so just a quick comparison between market order and limit order, you have a little bit more control in terms of the pricing when you're doing the limit order, but you have a better chance of either buying or selling that stock with a market order, right? So market order executed immediately, whether or not you like the price, it just happens. So I recommend using the market order if there's like a stock that you really want, maybe the market's dropping that day, you don't want to miss out, you just really want a stock that day, that moment, use a market order because you're guaranteed to buy. It just immediately executes as long as you're within trading hours. The limit order is when you're like looking at a stock and you're like, yes, I want it, but maybe I don't like the price as much. So you want to only buy or sell at a specific price. Maybe the stock doesn't work for you at this price, but if it's a bit lower, you'll be happy to buy, or at the current price, like you want to get rid of a stock, but you're not happy at the price it's going for right now. You want a little bit more profit. that's when you want to use a limit order where you're not in a rush to either buy or sell. So market order is like if you want it now, market order is going to be your best chance, because with the limit order, it may or may not happen, right? Let's say you wanted to buy in at 24 and the stock's 25 and the stock just keeps growing. That order will never execute and you'll never buy that stock. Similarly, if you're trying to sell at a higher price, let's say you're waiting for the stock to go to 35 and it's at 33 right now, maybe it never hits 35, it just keeps going down for a long period of time, you will never sell that. So that's kind of the difference. If you have more time on your hands, you're not desperate, use a limit order. If you want to have more control, use a limit order. If you just want to immediately get your hands on the stock, you want to start building a position, doesn't matter the price to you that much, go ahead and use a market order. So those are the two main things that you're probably going to be going back and forth between, but I do want to cover a stop order just so you kind of know what it means if you see it or if people are talking about it. And really, stop order is very similar to a limit order in that it's not on the market. A stop order, you get to set a limit as well, but with the stop order, it's different from the limit order in that the limit order guarantees you that price or better. So again, if you're selling, that price or higher. If you're buying, that price or lower. For a stop order, that's just saying I'm gonna set a limit, but once I hit that limit, it becomes a market order. So a stop order is kind of like an order that turns into a market order. And so the difference between that is the stop order doesn't guarantee that price or greater. So in some special cases, it might be worse. So for example, let's say same thing with AT&T, it's $25.87 right now. I'm waiting to sell at 26. A limit order will only sell at 26 or greater. A stop order is once it hits 26, whatever happens in the price, it becomes a market order then. So the stop order, you can kind of think of it as like dormant until the period when it hits that price. Once it hits your limit price, it turns into a market order. Whatever the current price is, it will buy or sell if you're trying to sell. So again, with that example, if your limit price that you set for that stop order is $26, once it hits 26, your order turns into a market order. If the stock price drops instantaneously at that moment to say $25.99, that market order will execute and you'll have sold for $25.99, versus with the limit order, you're guaranteed 26 or higher. So they're very similar in a way, but there is that difference. And there's another technical difference where the limit order, the people on the market can see the actual order. The stop order, they will not be able to see it until that price hits, and then the market sees your price. But that's not important in terms of your understanding. Just remember, market order, kind of instantaneous, buy it immediately, whatever the cost. Limit order, you kind of get to set your cost or the price, depending on if you're buying or selling, and you're always going to get your limit or better. Stop order, very similar to limit order, but sometimes in special circumstances, if the market goes up or down, depending on if you're buying or selling, it might not be better, it might be kind of around. So it can be worse or better, but it will have hit your limit price first, and then any fluctuations, that's just on you. So hopefully that was a good explanation. Those were some good examples to kind of help you understand better what those three types of orders are. Again, you're probably going to be using market order and limit order most of the time. Some people prefer one or the other and only use one or the other. Totally up to you to decide on the pros and the cons, which I kind of shared. So if that was helpful, please let me know in the comments below. Please feel free to like, maybe consider subscribing. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.